So, but yes, and I think another thing that you guys mentioned too, when you said true friends, if you have a true friend, bless you, that person will come to you and say, like, you know what, I understand what you're going through, and I am your confidant, but the issue is you.
Right.
And sometimes you have to have that person be true to you and look you in the face and be like,
yeah,
the situation, yeah, this seemed to be a trend in all your relationships. And that
yep.
was something that Trudy actually had to do to Constance in the story as well, that something was happening in her life. And she was like, wait a minute, please, let's not go down this path again. Let's really look at your pattern, if you will. And so she was able to address those things with her, and she was able to look back at her and tell her, like, thank you for that, because anybody else would have been like, girl, I don't know what's happening, what's going on, and just make you think that you're crazy to some degree. But she actually pulled that mirror up to her and let her see that the issue is you. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit more about communication, and then we'll swap back over. With communication, one of the elements that it has that's significant is you have to be transparent. How can you be transparent when situations are so vulnerable or put you in such a vulnerable position? How can you be, yeah, I guess that's the best question. How can you be transparent in those moments?
Well, it's easy when you trust who you're telling that information to. So I think once you trust that person with your heart, then even if it comes up and it hurts and it's hard and it's difficult to say, you end up saying it because you trust that your heart with that person. So when you can trust them to the degree knowing that they're not going to basically bash you or ignore you, then it becomes easy. I think that was easy for me to be able to say, this is what happened to me. This is what's happening to me. This is why I react this way, because then you trust that person with your heart. And when you can do that, then it becomes one of those things where, okay, I'm vulnerable, and it becomes easy to be vulnerable. But if you're not really trusting that person with this information, then you're never going to say anything. I don't care if you're there together 20 years. If that trust factor is not there with you, that I can trust you with my heart, then it's never going to happen. And you're going to always have that in the background, always have it in the background. And then and it doesn't make for a good relationship because it feels like you're hiding something all the time. So when you start getting to those hard areas, then it's easy to say, you know what, I'm just, we've been together 21 years, but I'm tired. Well, you tired of hiding. You're tired of covering it up. And the dog wants to get out the gate, and you don't, and you can't get out the gate. So it becomes, then that's when you see, sometimes when you see people sometimes, we just grew apart. No, you're supposed to be growing together.
Yeah.
So if you're growing apart, it's because you got something you're not dealing with, and he has something he's not dealing with, or both of you have something you're not dealing with. And it becomes harder and harder to hide the dog in the barn. It's harder and harder to hide it. And he's scratching at the door. He want to get out. And you won't let him out because you basically don't trust the person that you're with. And a lot of marriages and a lot of couples, even just like you say, even friendships are like that. Like I hear people say, oh, well, I just have I just have associates. How can you just have associates? I mean, so how can you have so many associates, but you don't say I'd rather have one good friend than have 15 associates. Because when you're saying I have associates, that means you're not in right relationship with them.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying? You're not in right relationship. You're sitting there, oh girl, let's go out to dinner. Let's go hang out. Let's do this. Let's do that. But in the meantime, when you go to dinner, you sit down and you're having dinner, but you really don't have a conversation.
Yeah, you're surface. Those are surface relationships. And I think that people need to understand the difference between that, having meaningful relationships and those that are just surface. Because surface relationship is that it's sociable. We go out, we have a good time. I could probably tell you the last time we went out and did something, but I haven't really talked to you about something personable about myself. We could have been associates, as they say, for 20 years, but I don't really know anything about your history. I don't know anything about your family or anything like that. I only know the interaction that we had when we went out to eat or we went bowling or whatever have you. It's just a social interaction, if you will. And I think that is actually what a lot of couples are having. They're having social interactions, but they, like you said, they've been together for umpteen years, but they never really reveal parts of themselves to the individual. So you are indeed strangers, because after a while, when you start doing things that you like and they start doing things that they like, you are growing farther apart because you never really have had that connection overall.
Correct.
So you guys are dropping some really good nuggets. I hope people are somewhere picking these things up and put them in a basket, because you're gonna need them. You're gonna need them in life.
So, because it's just like when you trust somebody with your heart, then you're open to anything and everything. You're open to telling them, I don't feel good today, or I really had this hard thing in my life when I was 5, and I just want to share that with you. Because the more you talk about it and the more you can get it out, the more it doesn't strangle you. And the more because it strangles you, because it really stops you from becoming you.
It does. It steals your voice, and also that's huge. So that means not handling issues from your past can really steal your future.
Exactly.
And, I mean, that is a huge statement right there, that all of the characters, I think, experience that they realize that, oh, this that I've been dealing with, or that I've seen happen in my family that I never really denounced. I just sort of let it continue to come along with me. Now I realize that has stolen all these years from me when I could have been living free, but I really have been bound with these particular areas.